One of the most important elements of my work in astrology is my understanding of what's called the Doctrine of Sect. This is a ancient doctrine that goes back into a couple thousand years ago. This idea came about, and where it came from, I don't think we can be entirely sure. But this is a cosmological idea rather than a astrological technique per se. This is something that really needs to inform our basic ideas of what the planets are and how they work. So this is part of the reason that I maintain a Hellenistic astrological focus, because I believe that this is an incredibly important and just indispensable way of looking at astrology. So the Doctrine of Sect is a division of the planets into two groups. We have the Day Sect, which is ruled by the sun. It has the luminary is the sun. The two other planets that are in that sect are Jupiter, which is called the Greater Benefic, and Saturn, which is known as the Greater Malefic. And these terms are extremely important. They do not mean what a lot of people think they mean. If you see that there's much greater depth in this idea than simply one gives you good things and the other gives you bad things. That's not what this means. So the other sect is the Night Sect, which is the lunar sect, and the moon is the luminary in this sect. The Benefic is Venus, which is known as the Lesser Benefic, and the Malefic in this sect is Mars, known as the Lesser Malefic. Those terms, greater and lesser, are extremely important too. They, again, probably do not mean what people would think they meant. And as we round this doctrine out, we find that Mercury is not in either sect. Mercury is a planet, a concept that is able to coalesce with either of these two groupings. Now, the first thing that strikes me when you look at this doctrine of sect is that this is a dualistic grouping, set of groupings. There's basically two realms of activity that are should be working in concert, essentially, with each other to maintain these two ways of thinking, ways of looking at the world. You can use several metaphors. You can look at the fact that we have a solar calendar and we have a lunar calendar. The moon moves in different cycles than the sun. If you look at the lunar year, there's 13 months. If you look at the solar year, there's 12 months. If you look at what's called the nakshatras, or the mansions of the moon, there are 28, and it divides the ecliptic into 28 or 27 parts. And if you look at the solar division of the same ecliptic, which is we know as the zodiac, it divides it into 12, and you can subdivide that into 36 as well if you look at the decans. But the division of 12 remains the important number here. So these two ways of looking at our calendar even are independent of each other. They do not really meet. If you try and mash them together, you'll have a big problem because they're not going to exactly ever really line up with each other. That does not make one better than the other. That does not mean that one is trying to destroy the other, that there's a patriarchy that's trying to repress the feminine world. But we could get into that more later. The reality of that is quite different. But that's the basic premise: is that these are two ways of looking at the world. They have to be honored for what they are, and they serve a cosmological function, which the zodiac, if you look at it in the way that I do, shows you that it's a cycle of birth and death and rebirth, and that these forces are working cosmologically to move our universe forward. And these two worlds are constantly fertilizing each other. Essentially, the masculine world is adding to the lunar world to create birth the universe as we know it. So getting into how each of these planets works in this, and the overall picture that I see, if you can envision the Tai Chi symbol, and you could imagine that the white part of the Tai Chi symbol is where the Sun and Jupiter sit, and within that white section of the Tai Chi symbol, as we all know it, there is a black dot, and that black dot is actually Saturn. And on the other section of this Tai Chi symbol, there is the black area, and within that black area there is the moon, and there is Venus, and there's a white dot there, and you could envision that white dot as being Mars. So this shows you that these malefic planets are, in fact, they're malefic because they are disruptive of the basic signification, the function of that sect. They are working counter to that sect. But that does not mean they're not part of that sect. They are the disruptive part of that sect, because everything in creation has a sort of a pressure valve that allows for that basic energy to be released, and it gets released into the other realm. Or we could look at that any number of ways, but that is the basic function of this. And we can look at the human psyche in this the same way, that there's a lunar part and there's a solar part, and there are parts of us that immediately, well, not immediately, but necessarily over time, sometimes immediately, but more often it takes time for this functional map to kick in a way that you can see what's really going on here. So just on this larger cosmological kind of function, as I see this doctrine of sect being how it works, is that your benefic planets are actually stabilizing and harmonizing these sects. They're really working towards the ends of that sect. And the specifics of each planet's productivity or fertility within this realm it's very interesting how these things work out. For example, Jupiter and the Moon tends to be a very fertile combination. There tends to be a lot of so-called gifts given when these two planets come together in either a conjunction or a good angle, like a good their meeting is positive. And even when their meeting is kind of negative, according to this basic cosmological structure, that's usually a pretty good thing. But like all things, there's very significant exceptions to that. There's ways in which that can not work out well. So when you look into the Night Sect, and this is extremely interesting, the Benefic is Venus, and Venus is trying to harmonize this Night Sect. So this is putting an emphasis on all of the very good things that the Night Sect can produce. When you can't see that that it's not working for whatever reason, and Venus keeps trying to harmonize it, that can become a problem. There's the Malefic within the Night Sect, which is Mars, is there to tell us when that's not happening, when this becomes over-harmonized, becomes over-feminized, becomes too solid, becomes too much of a herd instinct to simply go along with the Night Sect's ideas. That's what Mars is there to do, is to emerge from this sect when it is no longer serving us. Mars signifies birth, and Mars signifies this emergence from the feminine when it is not serving us. That can also become that can be infantile, that can be used too much. This is and you get the red-faced male who's simply just yelling and just rejecting things, and bullying even is another idea that comes out of that. All of Mars significations really kind of sit here, where this emergence from the group, from the mother, from the dominant paradigm, if you will. This is how Mars acts. When you look back into the Day Sect and you see Saturn is, again, this is the black dot in the white area. This is moving things back towards the Night Sect, even though Saturn is absolutely a member of the Day Sect and makes plays a very important role in that. He is the castrator. He is the emasculator. He is the one who cuts down the Day Sect and stops its expansion, its eternal attempt to expand. And whereas Jupiter can be extremely idealistic, aspirational, really wanting best and everybody to have everything that they could ever want. Saturn represents this the reality principle, but only in this section of our creation, whereas Mars represents the reality principle potentially within the feminine world. And this doctrine of sect, if you look at the ideas of anima and animus, and you can see that this paints that picture perfectly, where the feminine has Mars as its animating principle, and at the same time the masculine world has Saturn as its the opposite. Actually, it's the de-animating principle. So this is it's a fascinating way of interpreting things, and what's equally fascinating is with all that is the role of Mercury and what this archetype is when you see it as something that's sitting on the limen between these two sects, where it has a function that's daemonic. It is an emissary between these two realms, and it's also doesn't necessarily want to put all of its money into either of these two, on either of these two horses, so to speak. It's got a very special role, and those when we look into trickster archetypes, the myths of the trickster, this is where that sits to a great extent. Now, the trickster can be more, have other attributes to it as well, and the trickster can also be playing the role of the emissary of this dark goddess, a toxic kind of role. And the potential within this basic framework is enormous. And if you use this basic idea, it's a cosmological idea. It's a form of dialectical monism, as I see it, where you have the Tai Chi symbol is one thing, but from that is emerging two things, and then a third emerges, and then everything comes out of that. And it's almost endless how we can use this interpretive framework to show how we can subvert ourselves, and our overall relationship with the two sects is something that you can then sort of infer from a zodiacal chart. If you look at somebody's chart or a chart of an event, how is this? How does this play out? You can use this framework very easily to paint a picture of like kind of who's winning, is the playing field tilted in one direction or the other. So if this is of interest to you, I am available for astrological consultations, and also for longer term trainings for people, or mentorships to show how this set of ideas can be incredibly fruitful for personal development. You can message me through my Substack, which is Diamond Seed Astrologer. That's DAIMON, Seed Astrologer. And also my website is michaelmsuter.com.